get started. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to meet you all today. And just a quick show of hands, how many of you already work with TD SYNNEX today? Okay, we got some new faces and some older faces. I love it. Well, today's session, we really wanted to dive into removing the hype around AI and to provide something that was more meaningful and tangible. I will say I feel like the keynote this morning really set us up well, so hopefully you guys will take away a few things. I will be joined by John Jofra, who helps to lead our team globally around our cloud practice. So he will come up in a bit to talk about the monetization roadmap. But really, when we were thinking about the content today, what we wanted to focus on is three things. There's been a huge disruption around AI, and we know specifically it's affected MSPs and obviously the world at large. Then we wanted to chat through what that looks like for you to figure out a way to monetize it. What is the engine that you can build to truly make money and to better increase and manage your profitability? And then we wanted to close in talking about how does TD SYNNEX help you get there. So you'll get a few different flavors of that all throughout the presentation, but that is really our goal today. So to kick things off, my name's Brianna Berry, and I get to support our cloud partners as a strategic business manager. So really what that means is I want to look at what are the ways that TD SYNNEX goes to market to support partners. How do we help partners uncover ways to upsell and to cross-sell? And a part of that is getting to really sit with and receive feedback from partners. So over the last year, we've spent a lot of time understanding specifically in MSP practice and what the ins and outs of that business can look like and what are things that you all need if you consider yourself an MSP. And what we found specifically around AI are two specific concerns. The first is around getting to manage profitability. So when we talk about that, that's really looking at operational efficiencies. What are ways that you can better leverage TD SYNNEX or our specific tools and enablement offerings to help become more efficient in your own business, but also to help increase and grow your profitability? And the second piece of that is how do you remain unique and different? We know in the world of mergers and acquisitions as it relates to MSPs, the thing that is most important is for you to figure out how do you stand out? What is your differentiator in your business? And so when we think about the larger picture of MSPs, we have a framework for any of you who have worked with TD SYNNEX called MSP Evolve, and that is really our roadmap to uncover what are the needs that we're hearing from the MSP community. So these are the top four that we've heard in a variety of different ways. The first is looking at the concept that MSPs are not a one-size-fits-all. So I brought up the fact that figuring out what your unique differentiator is something that's really important. But specifically, we know that that means that the support you need is not going to be that one-size-fits-all, same rinse and repeat motion from TD SYNNEX. And so what we have built specifically around AI is unique pathways to figure out where are you at in your own journey, and then what are the things that you need to help enhance or expand or develop your own AI practice. The second is looking at streamlining operations. And so for us, that typically means tooling platforms. Again, things that could automate your business to help you be more effective. Something specifically that I've gotten to sit with and hear recently is from a partner who had somebody dedicated to billing for 40 hours a week over the course of 2 weeks at a time. And through our platforms, they were able to completely allow that person to do something different. And so when we talk about streamlining operations, the biggest thing that we want you to hear is how can you use your teams better? What are things that you could figure out how to better streamline or how to leverage a tool that could diminish somebody's time and give them something that's more meaningful, more purposeful? The third is looking at skills and talent shortages. So obviously, the case of many of us, which is the environment of hiring, is very, very tough right now. The job market is tough, and finding those unicorns, if you will, to become a part of your team to help go and make the difference as you all are going to market is really important. And so at TD SYNNEX, we want to come alongside you in two ways. One, we want to be that advisor to you as you help to build and expand your practice, but also we want to be able to be the advisor around what are those certifications that you need to go and advance your skill set? What are the specific resources that we have to help you go and really get more of those incentives and specific programs or funding buckets that could help to lower your costs and then obviously grow your profitability? And the last piece that I mentioned before is support through mergers and acquisitions. So something specific in our North American region, we have a program called MSP Matchmaker, and that is our way to come alongside MSPs if you are interested in acquiring or if you're interested in getting to merge with another organization. And again, that's sort of that private one-on-one consultation. But ultimately, through all of these specific challenges that we've heard from MSPs, we have brought it together to really say, when we think about this transformation around AI, and as we see customers wanting to digitally transform, when we look at those concerns, where does TD SYNNEX help you go and take a part of that market, right? At large, we're seeing in the market a few different things. Over the last few years, hyperscaler marketplaces have disrupted buying patterns. And that has really opened the door for those third-party solutions and an expansion to portfolios that maybe you didn't normally have before. And as a part of that, resale is being procured in a different way. And so as you develop your solutions and as you develop your practice to better support customers, the question is, what's happening all around you? We're seeing over $470 billion in cloud commit by the end of this year. And over the course of the next, really 5 years, we're going to see the revenue that is coming through marketplaces increase to $163 billion. The exciting news is 60% of that is set to go through partners. And ultimately, the thing that I find to be most interesting on this slide is that agentic AI is really the leading tech segment. So what does that mean for you? That means, how do you go and put your solutions, specifically any agentic AI offerings you have, into the marketplace to go and capture that? How can you monetize the things that you're creating to help your customers have that differentiated experience that automates their business and puts you at the forefront of being that strategic advisor? So one of the things that we do every single year at TD SYNNEX is release an article called the Direction of Technology Report. So just thinking about the picture that I just laid out, the industry trends that we just talked about, we like to bring that into our own partner base and say, for our partners who are doing business with us, what is happening in their world? And is it true, and is it matching with what's happening at the industry level? And so this report takes in a lot of different data points, but just to highlight specifically for AI today, I wanted to call out a few things. On the left side of the screen, you'll see the 75%. That is indicating partners who have said that AI is mission critical to have in their portfolio. And if you break that down, there's a chart on the right that basically shows the increase of partners who are interested in offering an AI solution. So in 2024, it was just put to 44%, whereas a few years before it was 14%. So that 30% growth rate is huge. And ultimately, what we saw specifically when we were comparing professional service organizations and MSPs is that professional service organizations were actually implementing AI more than MSPs had an actual offering around it. So what that tells us is this concept of having a profitable motion and a way to build in that recurring revenue is still missing. And the second piece of that is when we look at AI initiatives being stalled, there's really 3 trends. The circle on the left and right are indicating the customer experience. So 57% of customers are really considering what exactly is that clear business value that AI is going to bring, and then 38% just have a really hard time understanding what the appropriate use case is for their business. And then right in the middle is the partner experience, that 45% that say, hey, we need help to understand what is that customer-specific use case. And one of the things I'll say is this week in our booth, we have 2 different demos that we're offering. But one is around our initiative called AI Game Plan, which we'll talk a little bit about more later. But basically, we want to help provide that engine for you to see what does it look like to move all the way through to execution. How can you provide your customers an experience and an enablement offering that shows the use case and shows value to their business if they were to implement the specific solution. And when we look at our overall go-to-market, our question to you as an MSP is, we know AI is disrupting the world, and we know that it's disrupting the channel. And at TD SYNNEX, we have continued to ask the question, what does it look like in your business to leverage AIs to automate or streamline or make things more efficient? So as you think about this, what does it look like for you to be your own sort of customer zero, if you will? What are the ways that you can bring agents into your own practice to be able to automate and enhance the experience that you have? So our biggest framework that you've probably heard about before is really Destination AI, and it's built on this theory. So this concept that when we look at AI, we know that there is this spectrum or continuum of your maturity level. So at the bottom, we can look over the last few years. There's been this starting place of adopting generative AI, which is really looking at that information retrieval or content generation. And then it moves up into task-based agents. And that's sort of those preset workflows where it's doing one specific thing. Maybe it's a ticketing system all the way through to a resolution summary. And then that third level is looking at those automated workflows, which is where it's bringing together all of the agents. So the question that we would really want you to sit with today is, where are you at in that maturity spectrum? And our Destination AI framework is our vehicle to help you advance your own practice. And all of this is really bound together by the concept of, how do you then go monetize it? And one vehicle is being able to leverage our StreamOne Cloud Management platform to be able to showcase your offerings and to be able to automate parts of your business to make yourself more money or save yourself more time. So whether you are interested on getting to expand your go-to-market practice by leveraging our practice builder services, or if you have questions around how to implement this, how to showcase value to your customers through AI Game Plan or Cloud Labs, or ultimately, if you just want to expand your portfolio, we have the capabilities to do that as well. And one of the things that we find is in the center of those three different tech trends that I mentioned earlier, cloud, data, and AI security, which is really what we would consider at TD SYNNEX to be our high growth technology areas, we call this the sweet spot, and we've named that area the partner of the future. This is to say, if you expand across those technology segments, if you have a practice that's built on getting to leverage the technologies across those three, we really think not only can you advance your portfolio, but you can make more money and you can be a stronger strategic advisor to your customers. And so ultimately, one of the things that Dan will go into is looking at what is actually available for you today from a solutions perspective. And one of the things that we built in this last year is our solutions grid and our Destination AI program. So we have this available for multiple vendors, but today, obviously, you'll see the Microsoft one. And if you look at the blue dots on the screen, for those of you who have great vision, you can see all of the AI agents and the solutions specific to the Microsoft portfolio, where you can go and tangibly figure out, where are you at? Is that a part of your portfolio today? And if it's not, what does it take from a skills perspective for you to get there? So Dan will come up and talk more about monetization.
Thank you, Bree. Thank you all. Just as Bree was saying, right, my name is John Jofra. It's a pleasure to be with you. And honestly, my role here today is just guide you through this journey from zero to hero in how to monetize your agentic AI practice. But before that, if you'll indulge me, by a show of hands, how many of you have already developed your first agent? Okay. How many of you have developed more than one agent? All right, not too bad. That helps at least getting started. But before we do that, let me take it up where Bree was already showing a little bit what is the journey and how does it look like. First, I'm going to rename a little bit these chapters, and starting with the bottom one, what we will call it right now is 0 to 1, where we can get started. We will see why in a moment. The second chapter is my personal favorite, which is the task-based agents that Bree already introduced us to. Why is my personal favorite? Well, because we have a breakthrough moment for many of our partners in that chapter, and I hope that we can uncover the why during today's presentation with specific examples, and also, again, what is your opportunity in that specific moment? And finally, last but not least, right, automated workflows. We will see also what autonomous agents can do for us and our businesses, and how can we also transform the way we engage and create value for our customers and partners. So without further ado, let's get started with the first chapter of our journey. Now, before we do that though, let me set the basics, right? What are the components that define an agent? And we have a pretty laid out summary here with 5 main elements. I'll start with the orchestrator. Think of it as the operating system of an agent, because it will be the engine that will base their interactions with the knowledge we've provided the agent with. Knowledge that we will feed the agent with, grounded in our corporate or customers' data, solutions, and effectively data points, right? The orchestrator will also tap into what we have in here named as skills, which are no less than the capabilities, tools, and automations that we want to build to accelerate the value delivery with that set agent. And finally, we need to define what will be the rules, right? So the autonomy that we give this agent to make decisions on our behalf, or actually to ask for permission to trigger set actions. Of course, agents are based in these foundational models that we have laid out in here, which in other words are the large language models that we now use and abuse every day and so on. And of course, we need, let's say, a UI to access to all these tools and capabilities that in this case could be nested either in Teams or in this case, as we see here, Copilot. Now, I've got a pretty quick example to illustrate how an agent works. I hope that everyone is already familiar with it, but just in case, right? We've got here a quick example. I'm from Barcelona, right? Imagine that now I don't have my ticket to go back home. And what I would do is just reach out to my agent, my travel agency agent, just as an example, right? This agent will check the HR policies that apply for this last-minute ticket that I should have bought a couple of months ago, right? And will, of course, check whether, let's say, are the price limits, and if provided that we comply with all the rules that we have defined, it will automatically provide me with a ticket to go back home in my particular situation. Now, all this workflow can happen in our first chapter in what we know the declarative agents, but declarative agents are the first step, the 0 to 1 that we've talked to, because they are no-code agents. So agents that don't require neither a PhD or a master's degree to make sure that we start delivering value to our customers. Are agents that are based on our corporate knowledge that can tap into the likes of SharePoint, OneDrive, and many data sources that we can put in front of them, right? And that, just as you see in here, they are pretty much easier to put together because the skills and autonomy tab is not needed, right? What we have in here is that these type of agents are usually called coaches or digital subject matter experts because they can deep dive into concepts, knowledge, and making sure that they demystify complex subjects for our counterparts. Now, a quick example of these type of agents, thinking on the shoes of an MSP, like many of you in the room today, is a service desk support agent, right? That would help us, in this sense, get a better sentiment on what is our customer technology landscape. Just as an example, do they have 3 nodes and a fiber channel storage? Do they have, how many virtual machines do they have in Azure, etc., right? So we get from knowledge to action much quicker. And also, this agent can very well, let's say, help me trigger or understand typical troubleshooting scenarios that will accelerate ticket resolution time. Now, if we think with the shoes of, let's say, our customers, right? So the end customers, as we also would put it, would be an HR policies agent. So an agent that would figure out, for example, what are how many vacation days do I get, and what are the typical onboarding processes, and just as we were seeing a few moments ago, what are the travel policies that I need to adhere to. Another type of agent in that front could be, for an end customer, a product specifics agent that will help our marketing teams and sales teams create outstanding content while keeping it relevant for their particular customers. Going to my favorite one, and forgive me, I get a little bit overexcited with this one, is the task-based agents. Now, why are my particular favorite? Well, because as we will see right now, they unlock true productivity gains. They can create, thanks to automation, they can trigger actions. So we go from talking to our data, as we saw in the chapter before, to really doing stuff, triggering activity on our behalf. As I'm sure that many of you already recognize, this opens the door for really true productivity gains. And this also helps us in making a dramatic impact in their current performance and in our organization's performance. If I get, now we go with. During these agents, that's why we see that in difficulty we have increased a tiny bit if we give it into their ranking, right? But of course, they wouldn't be my favorite if that was only because they can trigger tasks and deliver work on our behalf. What I really like about this type of agents, or this, let's say, methodology that we can build, is that they are still no-code based, so we can develop these kind of agents in either Teams or Copilot Studio without needing to be, again, super experts in coding, or actually not knowing anything about coding at all. But they can also suppose a breakthrough, and we can expand their publishing scope if we start developing those agents with, let's say, the Teams SDK, the Teams library, and the Agents SDK, meaning starting to code the agents themselves in platforms like Visual Studio and relying on GitHub Copilot. What is the publishing scope? Might many of you be thinking already. Think of it as publishing scope. It can be an agent that I use for myself, my team, or even my organization. This publishing scope would be internal. All no-code or low-code platforms allow us to keep our agent in internal usage only. The moment that we get to this breakthrough, right, and we start utilizing all these third parties, right, or these agents SDK and so on, we get to publish this agent externally, meaning that we get to productize our IP and sell it, unlocking what Bree was mentioning at the very beginning, a 10x profitability for that specific agent in turn. Now, I'm sure that many of you understand what this type of agent is my favorite one. And again, just a couple of examples. Tasks that this type of agents could deliver is updating a project status, logging a ticket, just as Bree mentioned in a few moments ago. And if we go, let's say, in particular examples for our MSP, the ones that we will grow during this journey, think of it as the agent that we had before, in which we only talk to our data, that now has also the capability of solving or troubleshooting with our users, making sure that they get the most out of the knowledge that we've been building during all these years, and they can be self-sufficient in solving the incidents that they might have today. And provided that they cannot solve it on their own, the agent itself will log a ticket on their behalf and escalate the incident for a human to intervene and solve the customer's situation. Now, again, putting the hat of an end customer, if we go back to this HR benefits agent that first of all was only consuming information, now it can also tailor that information to me, my personal situation, telling me how many sick days do I have, whether I also do have, let's say, can I join a wellness program in particular, or whether do I have, let's say, additional components that I can add into my, let's say, corporate benefits, right? And if we think of another type of agent, it could be an onboarding agent that automates the entire process, and it helps me and my organization to seamlessly onboard a new employee. Final type of agent. We are going into automated workflows. Allow me to rephrase or clarify what do we mean by automated workflows. It's just autonomous agents. I know that it sounds not very groundbreaking coming back from the task agents, but what these type of agents do that is completely different from all the others is that they learn and adapt and act autonomously, right? So as many of you have already figured out, the last box within the capabilities of an agent, the autonomy, is critical. Now in here, what these type of agents tend to do, and as you see on the slide, it's talk to other agents themselves. Why is that? And many of you might think, why would I want for my agent to talk to other agents? Why cannot create a mega agent capable of doing it all, right? Guess what? Agents per se, and the way we access today large language models is non-deterministic, meaning that we get hallucinations, right? And that we need to, one way that we could minimize these hallucinations is by making sure that we provide the agents with the right level of context, that we determine what topics are they usually talking about, and for sure that we very well define each one of their skill sets. That means that it's way more easy for us to predict the output that we want for an agent to obtain if we have a set of specialist agents talking among themselves rather than having a bigger agent for which it will be much harder for us to control each one of the outputs that we want to get out of it. Now, of course, these type of agents are the highest ranked in terms of difficulty, but also they are the highest ranked in terms of opportunity. If we take the example that we've been bringing on during the entire journey, it would mean that this, let's say, MSP type of agent now is capable not only of supporting the user, but also of self-serving the entire incident or service workflow to make sure that we solve the tickets on an autonomous way and understand whether that incident is security related, data related, or compliance related, or systems and hardware and components related. And of course, provided that the agent requires additional assistance from a human or an expert, then the agent still can handle, let's say, within the autonomy box, what does it need to do? Think of it as a fail-safe engine, right, in which the agent would call for support. Now, again, additional examples that could be from an industry. Imagine, in an ideal world, a lead generation engine, right, in which this lead generation engine or agent will better understand what all your customer touchpoints have been happening and where have been happening, whether that being on your website, whether that being on a different booth location just in here today, right? And how can they automatically mature those leads and make sure that they progress and make sure that you get booked a call with an expert that is fully qualified and ready for prime time. Now, if we think, okay, but Jan, bear in mind I am an MSP. All of this is really good, but what services can I put together? The first thing that we would say is bring the services that are aligned to your current tech maturity, because otherwise it will be really hard for you to crack the code during all this journey. So get building on. And as you see, the foundation starts with this ideate, secure, and prepare. Just as Bree outlined a moment ago, the most important part is to make sure that we break the ROI skepticism, that we make sure that we prioritize the right use cases, and that we support customers in understand where can they get the highest amount of impact for the least amount of effort. However, and as MSPs, many of you will also think, what are, let's say, the recurring services that I need to put together to guarantee that I solve for the three main roadblocks that we have identified with agentic AI? First, cost predictability. How do we solve for that, right? How do we solve also for security, and how do we solve for accuracy? Guess what? Good news today. We've got major announcements in terms of accuracy with agent lifecycle management capabilities just right outside the box that are ready for us and for you, many of you in this room, to create this type of services that will help you monitor what is the likeliness for an agent to answer the questions with accuracy and providing, let's say, the right level of impact for the right level of effort. In cost predictability, please tap into existing licenses, whether those being Copilot, Copilot Studio, and for sure, try to acquire message counts, packages, right? And there's already cost management engines that help us predict what will be the overall cost, meaning trying to understand how many grounding capabilities, actions do we trigger, and how many, let's say, knowledge does the agent need to manage to make sure that it delivers according to their expectations. And security, I think that we, right now and today, got also quite enough announcements with regards to security that help us understand and figure and tackle all the security challenges aligned to Azure AI, and most importantly, agents in this topic. And by that, I mean making sure that the agents get access to the right level of information, purview, right? And that agents get, let's say, the right level of data grounding and data capabilities that they require. Now, with that, I'm going to ask Bree to join me back on stage to just bring back the conversation into, let's say, what TD SYNNEX has to offer to complete this entire journey together. And first, I think that Bree already introduced AI Game Plan, which is a framework and a tool that will help you and us together in that journey in figuring out and prioritizing all the different use cases that we can uncover with agentic AI. Cloud Labs, a tech-ready environment in which we can get hands-on with all these technologies, and you can develop your first, not only declarative agent, but also task agents that in some way or form equip you with all the level of knowledge required to be highly successful in that journey. And last but not least, StreamOne, which hopefully Bree will help me out figure out in the next remaining minutes. However, before I hand over to Bree, two final things. And it's important that it's not me saying it, that partners whom help us tremendously develop all these IP that will accelerate your success, what are they saying? How this type of, let's say, technology and IP is helping them be successful in their day-to-day, not only in their agentic AI journey, but just as Bree outlined, in their destination towards AI. Now in here, and just to bring it home, what does it, I'm sure that many of you have heard, what does it mean already becoming frontier? Let me show you an example on that, specifically aligned to the agentic AI journey that we have built so far today. On the left side of the screen, left? Yes, left for you as well, sorry. On the left side of the screen, you've got all the definition of the success that we've been building in maturing that agent from 0 to hero. In the right side of the screen, or actually in the middle, you've got what we could do, which is package this agent and sell it as a service. What do we mean by that? Imagine in a world in which your end customer, an SMB end customer, can tap into all the years that you've built MSP leading industry expertise. They can do that at a glance, and they can do that on pay-per-user or even pay-per-consumption. And all of that being integrated in their current IT service management engines, whether that being ServiceNow, Jira, you name it, and you make that available to them at their fingertips. And you can, again and as said, monetize and get 10x for the investment that you got and increase greatly your profitability in doing so.
I love it. Thanks, Jan. So obviously we have a full picture of what the market looks like, and then we were able to talk through what it could look like for you in your own practice to go and deploy agents and to be able to monetize that to increase your profitability. And the last piece that we wanted to touch on was really this concept of a marketplace or a platform where these solutions can live to help you make money and help you to procure those in a way where it's easy to manage and it brings together your entire business. So when we talk about StreamOne Cloud Management Platform, it's really our global architecture to be able to bring together all of the solutions that you have in your portfolio and the things that we have available through StreamOne for you to be able to have available to your customers to deploy very easily. And one of the things that we talk a lot about is this concept that you could have a global company or you could exist in multiple regions, and so we wanted to be able to provide a platform that brings that all together. So when we look at StreamOne, obviously it's huge. We have a robust presence across the globe. We have multiple currencies in a way to bring it fully together. And so when we talk about the value specifically for MSPs, these are 4 of many features we have that make the difference. So earlier I talked about the challenges for MSPs, how to remain unique, how to streamline your own operations, what does it look like to really close the gap on any talent or shortage skills that you have within your business. And then last but not least, the acquisition piece. And so when we talk about these features, the first is really looking at those API integrations. So for us, that's a way to be able to connect with your ERP to simplify everything around management. And as we leverage that with PSA connectors, think about the lifecycle management of any sort of licenses or solutions you're deploying. Those are ways for us to be able to help you automate your business to bring that together when it comes to billing and invoicing and being able to bring that together under one place for your customers. The third is white label storefronts, and this is really an opportunity for you to provide that self-service engine to your customers. So think about a world where you could have a customized catalog, you're able to provide your own pricing, and you also have the option to be able to turn on a mechanism for your customers to go and purchase the things that they need, and it's all under your own branding. That's what our white label storefronts offer you. And then last but not least, syndication. And I wanted to be able to show a demo, but when we think about syndication, this was basically our way to go and figure out how do we solve closing the gap over all the solutions that exist in hyperscaler marketplaces, and specifically thinking about the Microsoft Marketplace, how can we bring those in to provide a cohesive experience in StreamOne for partners? And this is it. So when we look at the solutions that are available in the marketplace today, through this feature that we call syndication, we're able to pull those listings in so that way it can actually be procured through StreamOne. So again, it's making the actual path into one specific place. And on this next slide, you'll be able to see what that demo looks like in our StreamOne platform. So you'll be able to see the different types of ISVs or vendors that we've worked with who have basically created terms and conditions around a private offer. And then through this particular screen, you'll be able to see the ability to sort of add that to cart and then close that out. All of this is living in StreamOne, but those listings were specifically pulled from those hyperscaler marketplaces and in this particular example of the Microsoft Marketplace. So again, when we think about what does it look like to help make things easier for you and simple and in one place, this is really the mechanism for us to do that for you. So just to kind of close today's session, and we'll be up here just to answer any questions at the end, but when we think about just your own path and your own maturity level and your own practice, the question that we would leave you with is, where do you need to get started with TD SYNNEX? One of the really cool resources we have is an AI assessment that basically helps you figure out where are you at in your journey and what's the next step. So that's what that first QR code will take you to. The second is getting to look at our specific portfolio. So that'll lead you to our webpage that will show some of the top solutions that we have. And then the third is really focused on that learning component. Obviously, for many of us, it might start with just figuring out what are the areas that you need to lean into to develop your own practice and own understanding in your teams. And then the last piece, and this is what we hope you will truly take us up on, is visiting our booth. So our booth is 5879, and we have basically 6 different stations where we will be able to show off all of our TD SYNNEX enablement offerings. And we have just different team members across our entire company that would love to meet with you and just to learn more about your own practice and what we can do to help. So
and
thank you all.
hopefully, before the end of this Ignite session, we will have many more hands up on people that has developed already their first agent.
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you all.